So, hello everybody. Continuing on our musical theme here, we're going to talk about women trailblazers in music, right? Because I think that's a deserved genre that we should discuss. And I'm going to start. This is so boring because I talk about her all the time. As Linda Ronstadt, I told you, she was my number one musical influence as a kid because my father turned me on to her music, and her and Bonnie Raitt at the same time were kind of same musical compadres, I guess you'd call them, and they used a lot of the same songs, same songwriters. But Linda Ronstadt for me was the one that I really liked because she crossed a lot of genres, and I'm kind of like that. So for me, she was a trailblazer because she got me interested in rock music, even though she would not consider herself a rock singer. And she always says that I'm not a rock singer. I don't sing rock and roll very well. But a lot of people think of her as a rock singer. But she started off in country and then kind of got back to her musical roots as she got more successful. But for me, she was like my idol because there weren't a lot of women that were doing like crossing genres like she did. So
If you like our videos, go ahead and click on like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. Thanks.
so that's why I liked her.
Yeah, good one. Good one. Well, I will say, I'm not musical at all. And I wish I were, but I'm
And you're
not.
the biggest fan. You're a
I
really
don't have
good,
that talent, but I am a big fan, and I'm a fan
mhm.
of yours. So,
Thank you.
two of my best friends are singers.
That's right.
You're a singer and you perform, and then Suzette is a singer slash drummer, which is, that's
Even
up to
harder.
being a trailblazer, a female
Right.
drummer. So she really, was blazing the trail back then, when she started out. So I
I
have
think
great
that's
respect.
so cool when women are drummers. I kind of wish
Yeah.
I'd actually studied the drums because I just think it's
Well,
very
and
cool.
she sings too at the
Yeah.
same time. So she's like playing the drums and singing. I don't even know how she has the stamina for that,
She's
but
like Don Henley.
pretty incredible. Yeah, pretty cool. So, with that said, so those are the women that I personally have the pleasure of knowing.
Oh.
And then the famous ones, I would say, my first one, and this is someone I talk about too a lot, Cher.
Oh
I
yeah.
love Cher. I love, of course, her talent and
Sure.
Sonny and Cher, and then Cher went off on her own, and she's beautiful and her
Mm.
clothes and all
Mm-hmm,
that.
mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
I really, more than anything, why I think she's a trailblazer is for her honesty. I feel
Mm.
like she's just always been like true, like she's
Sure.
always at least wanted to be as honest as she possibly could be. So for that reason, I think she's a
Yeah,
trailblazer.
you have a good point. And she became a great actress too, which she always wanted to do.
That's true. Yeah.
The thing I like about Cher is that she tries things, and a lot of times people tell her, from this is stuff I've read about her, where she says people tell her, no way, you're never gonna, no one's gonna take you seriously. And then she does it anyway. And then she always ends up doing a really good job and everybody respects her, you know? So that's
Yeah.
the thing I like
I
about
forgot
Cher.
about her being an actor too, which is like, yeah, she's just oozes talent. I mean, she just
Uh-huh,
has
uh-huh.
has so much talent.
And she's so
Um,
honest, like you said, and I think it comes across in her acting, you
yeah.
know?
Yep.
So
Yeah. What's your
okay,
second
so
one?
my second one is kind of from the same time period as when I liked Linda Ronstadt when she was doing her thing. But for me, Ann Wilson will always be one of the best
Okay.
female rock singers, bar
Okay.
none, because she's
Okay.
got like this amazing powerhouse rock voice. But she also does a lot of bluesy type stuff. And I've seen her so many times live. She just never um has a bad night. I mean, she's not one of the, like some singers you're like, okay, they weren't that on that night, but no matter when you see her, she's just like, she has the strongest voice, especially for rock music, but she's really bluesy too. And her and her sister kind of were the first to kind of really get in. Well, I wouldn't say they were the first, but they were one of the more successful rock duos, for women, because the
Mm-hmm.
sister Nancy plays guitar,
Mm-hmm.
so, and they had a real tough time in the beginning. I think that when they've talked about it, I've listened, and they said that they weren't, it was really hard at that time because a lot of women weren't doing the rock and roll thing, so
Yeah.
hats off to them.
Yeah. Well, as we've talked in other topics, but things have been hard for women in many different industries and most
Mm-hmm.
industries. And so for these women to have, you can only imagine, I mean, what they went through, and the misogyny and the sexual harassment, and all kinds
Especially
of
in the
things
music
I can
business. Can you
only
imagine?
imagine. Yeah. But
Because,
because the acting business, that stuff goes on too. I can only imagine how it is in the music business, because you add in all the drugs and the sex, drugs, and rock and
alcohol.
roll. So hats off to these women for even venturing into it, even
That's
giving it
true.
a
That's
try.
true.
So yeah.
Because I think the music business, even more than acting, well, I would say there's all that funny stuff going on, but in the music business, it's not held accountable as much. And it's not even held accountable that much in the acting world, but
Yeah.
in the music
Yeah.
business, I think it's even less, because everybody's kind of like,
Yeah. I think there's probably even less ethics
Yeah.
music business.
Right. So, because people are just having fun. It's all about having fun in the music business, which I
Yeah.
like, but it's just,
Yeah.
sometimes you
Yeah,
gotta,
fun at somebody else's expense though
right.
isn't really good. And power, and even the men in the music industry talk about the old time when they had the
Mm,
whatever, the labels were controlling everything, and
sure.
kind of like the studios used to control the actors,
Mm-hmm.
and that put them all at a disadvantage. So you can only imagine what the women went through starting out.
Mm-hmm.
Probably
Mm-hmm.
was really rough, I would guess.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
anyway.
would agree with you there. Okay, whose turn is it?
So my turn. My number 2 is Tina Turner.
I
Tina.
have my friend Frank Schneider. He totally idolizes Tina Turner too, so it's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. I love Tina. I mean, her music, but then, the story of her getting away from Ike,
Ike,
and,
yeah.
that's just an amazing story. And of course, her talent is undeniable. And,
I think I read her book. I think I read her book. It was a long time ago, but she talks
yeah.
about I think she got a job as a cleaning woman after she escaped from Ike, So she
Yeah.
was
And
like
she
really,
literally left with nothing and started from scratch and became bigger than ever. So good
mm-hmm,
for her,
mm-hmm,
she just had to be really strong. So I wrote, like, for my 5 women, I wrote like a word that I would describe them. And for her, it would be strong. I think she really had to be an incredibly strong woman to
I would
have
agree with you there.
survived.
Yeah, she's very, she's a survivor.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
good for her. Yeah, a lot of people love Tina Turner because of her
Yeah.
energy too.
Yeah. I know. She's amazing. She's amazing. Yep. So who's your next
Okay,
one?
my next one is, everyone's gonna go, well, yeah, who doesn't love this person? But it's Aretha Franklin,
Yeah.
because she, when I was joking with you earlier that I was going through my Aretha Franklin phase before. It was like every song was Aretha Franklin, because I wanted to imitate the way she sang. She was one of my musical influences that way. So, but she just has that natural, cool, like, musicality that she doesn't, it's just Aretha. And the thing about her is that she's influenced so many people, from, like, I was reading, like, George Michael, Elton John, Whitney Houston, and plus at the time when she was first coming into music, there were a lot of female musicians, and she played the piano and she wrote a lot of her songs, and that was really unusual back then.
Mm-hmm.
I told you that I have a friend that did a backup session with her once, and she came in to do the session, and she was like, "Okay, I'm only doing this once, and that's it." And so she did the take, right, and then she left, and then afterwards they heard her ring the whole time on the piano, going, so they couldn't use
Like
it.
her ring on her finger?
Yeah, and it kept clanking on the piano key things.
Oh no. Oh
And
well.
so, yeah, so I was like,
And what
okay.
was it for? What was the
It was
project?
I don't know what the session was, but my friend there was background singers, and one of my friends was the background singer in the session. And she
Oh,
came
that's
in, like,
funny.
like the diva that she deserves to be, but she was like, I'm only doing this once. Yeah.
Okay.
So I thought that was a
Well,
funny story.
I guess the ring needed to stay in or whatever they
And
did.
by the way, Etta James to me is a kind of slash Aretha slash Etta James, because I think Etta James' voice was just amazing too, or is amazing.
Mhm.
But I put Aretha in the more of the trailblazer, because she, did a lot of stuff with, like I said, wrote songs, played the piano, and she just changed the way a lot of people looked at that kind of music that she did, like covering gospel into R&B. She kind of melded a lot of worlds. musical worlds. So
Yeah, she's a good one.
yeah.
Yeah, you can't leave her out. Okay, my next one is Pink. And I like
Pink. I
Pink
like Pink.
because number one, I like her music and she's beautiful and all of that, but I feel like there's a fearlessness in
Oh
her. And
yeah.
I wouldn't say, and even when I typed up my list and I put their one word that I felt like applied to them,
Mm.
I don't think anyone's fearless, but I think they are willing to overcome their fears. And I think she's probably, everybody's scared of something. Everybody
Sure.
makes, mistakes and is embarrassed or whatever. But I feel like she is just, so her fearlessness is a willing to do it anyway, even if she is fearful of something.
Yeah, I think she's a good role model for women too, because she just seems like she's honest and like you said, fearless,
Yeah.
And I think she's got a good voice too.
Yeah. And her music's good. So that's why I really like her.
Yeah, Pink. I think she's cool too. I'd like to see her in concert. I've never seen her in concert. Okay, so my next one is I don't know if you're gonna laugh, but is Dolly Parton,
No,
because
I love Dolly.
I know, me too. And she the reason why I say you might laugh is you might not think I would like Dolly Parton, but the reason why I like Dolly Parton is because I love her voice. I think she's a great songwriter, and she's written some of the most iconic songs of all time. And people just like Linda Ronstadt loved her too. They've done a lot of music together, and she'd always say, I always wanted Dolly to sing the lead because Dolly always sounded the best, But when you read about like where she came from and all the things that she went through, like we're talking about Tina Turner, she came from a family like, I don't know, maybe 12 people, and how they were super poor. Like, I think she's from Tennessee, and she used to go down by this river and like play her songs, and she would come up with all these songs, and she was just spewing these songs out all the time. Wow. And then she moved, I want to say she moved to Nashville when she was like, 19 or something like that. But it was a very probably misogynistic world, even more than we have now. And she had to constantly stick up for herself, and she wasn't probably taken as seriously because she always says, I think her joke is like, it takes a lot of money to look this cheap. But she uses that persona that she has for her own, like she's in on the joke, like I'm this dumb blonde, but she's not a dumb blonde. She's just a really good businesswoman, and she has a really good heart too. Like she gave all that for Moderna. I think she gave like $1 million for the vaccine, like she wanted,
Yeah, she's done a lot. I mean, she's got that theme park, Dolly World. She's been an actor. She's been in movies, and she's got a tremendous singing career and music career. So yeah, she's definitely. I think she's worthy of being on the list.
Oh, and a side note, I was watching a special about her, and I thought, now that takes real confidence and guts. But I Will Always Love You, that song that she wrote. It's been covered a lot by a lot of different people, but Elvis wanted to do it, right? And at the time, I guess right after she wrote it, I don't know, maybe, but at the time, Colonel Parker, who was Elvis's manager, came up to her and said, Elvis wants to do your song, but we want to take half or all the publishing. I don't remember, but and back then that happened a lot, especially with Elvis, because Colonel Parker, his manager, was very notorious for that. And Dolly, on this special, she said, I said, no, you're not taking my publishing because I'm keeping the song, and right. I don't think she was as famous as she is now, at the time. Right. So it took a lot of guts and nerve for her to believe in herself. Good. And it made her like a multimillionaire, because that song has been recorded and sung by so many different people. It was on the Bodyguard soundtrack. Yeah. So anyway, isn't that cool that she was so confident?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Good for her.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Okay. Who's yours?
My next one is Stevie Nicks.
Oh, I love Stevie Nicks.
She's overcome a lot. I labeled her survivor because, she put her music career first. I've read interviews and seen interviews, and she put her music career first. She never got married. She was married briefly, but it wasn't a romantic marriage. It was for her best friend's husband. Her best friend died, and she married her husband because she wanted to make sure her kids were taken care of, and she
Mhm.
realized that was a mistake. So anyway, they got divorced or annulled it. But I feel like she was, at a time when I'm sure the music business was very misogynistic, and there was probably a lot of things to overcome for a woman.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
she seems like she just, survived with the man. She
Mhm.
was always, she seems like one of those ones that the men would invite in, that because of course her voice,
Right.
her
And
voice
she's
is
written
so
some
special.
like great songs.
Yeah,
She's another one
yeah,
that's got a really good songwriter.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's something, kind of unique about her. She's just really
Mhm,
different,
mhm.
and
Yeah,
she's very cool. Let's just put it that way.
yeah,
I can't
yeah.
think of any
And
better adjectives.
well,
She's
and
very cool.
supposedly she battled drugs, and
Right.
supposedly she had an illness similar to what I had after I got the flu shot and I got the chronic fatigue. She had that too, and so did Cher.
Mm.
And so they both, overcame that too. So
Hmm.
that's another reason I respect those women. So
Hmm. Hmm. Well, good for you.
yeah.
Now, my last one, you're going to laugh. No, I keep saying that. You're not going to laugh. My last one is Taylor Swift. Now, you may think, I
No, I'm
know,
kidding.
right? You
I'm
you
kidding.
laugh. No,
No,
no, no.
yeah.
The reason, let me explain. I wouldn't say that her music resonates with me, and I wouldn't say that she's my favorite singer of all time, but I nominate her in that trailblazer category because she's done a
Mhm,
lot of great things, especially for her peer group,
mhm,
because when
mhm,
she got into music, she had to make some compromises. And recently she re-recorded all of her music because this record label that she left,
mhm.
or a manager that she left, I think his name was, I don't have to say his name. Well, his name's Scooter Braun, but she left the record company in 2018, and she wasn't getting money from a lot of these huge songs that she wrote. So she re-recorded them, and now she's going to take her power back, right?
Good, good. Yep.
But also, when she was only 18, she was writing all of her music, her
Yeah.
own music, and she's been a big advocate for like LGBTQ, all these other organizations. She's very outspoken. So I think for that reason, I think that she's a really unique person,
Yeah.
and that she's an advocate, let's just put it that way.
Mhm.
So like I said, I'm not like her music doesn't really resonate with me that much, so as a singer or musician or anything like that, but I just think she's a very cool and unique person, and she deserves our respect.
Absolutely. I
There we
agree.
go.
I agree. And she's just had a ton of hits, and she
Oh
started
yeah.
so young in the industry, and she's very, very talented. So
Right.
I
And
agree
she's
with that one.
pretty. And that
And
doesn't mean
she's very
anything, but
pretty.
she's
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah. She's very pretty, but just a gift that she had nothing to do
Yeah,
with. But
exactly. Her
so
genetics, her DNA, she got
yeah.
it from her
I remember
parents.
yeah, one time I remember there was an interview with Paulina Poroskova, and somebody was saying, how
Oh,
pretty she was, and she was like, I have nothing to do with it. She
oh,
said it's
yeah,
nothing, and I thought that was really neat of her, because we praise people for their beauty, and really it's just, your
something.
parents.
Sure.
Really, it's, about your
Um,
genes.
she is a real, speaking of Paulina Peraskova, is that how you say her name?
Mhm.
She is she's kind of fearless herself, because I remember one of her videos popped up into my feed, and I don't know why, but I was watching an interview with her, and
Yeah.
she's so brave. Like she's really
Yeah.
trying to not, this is like segueing out of the whole music thing, but she was married to a
Well, she was
musician,
married
right?
to Rick Nicholson.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's really trying to fight getting like plastic surgery, and
Mhm.
as she's aging, because she was known as one of the most beautiful women of the modeling world,
Mhm.
and so she's like, but she doesn't put down people who do, she's like, I'm not putting anyone down, but I'm really trying not to, because I want to, because not everybody can look gorgeous forever. And so I just think
Yeah.
that was really cool, like to say that,
That's what I mean. And when she said the comment about her beauty was when she was very young and very beautiful.
Mhm.
So I think
Mhm.
she's always had that
She's
level
smart.
of depth,
Yes, she's not
more
shallow.
about depth. And I feel like as a society, and a little bit for me, I'm trying to fight it too, because I'm like, not that I'm, if I had more money, I
You,
probably would get plastic surgery. But I do feel like the society puts too much pressure on women. You know, as you get older, your priorities should be more meaningful and deep than just putting on makeup and looking beautiful. I mean, that should be the last thing on your list, really, as you get older, I think. But society has that pressure, and it depends on what industry you're in. And so
That's
we
true.
still expect so much of
Like
women.
I was it's a funny side note. I was also read an interview with or saw a YouTube video or something with Jerry Hall, and she was like, I can, she's like trying to fight getting plastic surgery too, and she was like, I can understand if you're in the industry, because you want to get as much work out of as possible, but she's like, but you're everyday women, she's like, you're not fooling anyone. I just thought that was so funny.
I know. Well, because you can usually tell when people get plastic surgery, and anyway,
That's a different subject. We'll
yeah,
save for another time.
it is what it is. And like I said, when I get my fortune,
Yes.
I'm calling up the
When we
doctor.
have our 10,000 subscribers,
Yes,
Kellie
yes, I will be getting my
No, I'm
plastic
kidding.
surgery.
Kellie was, and always will be a beautiful woman. So don't,
Yeah. Not on my priority list anymore, but anyway. So my last one is, there's a couple, and you've mentioned both already. It was a tie for me because, yes, Etta James, that song At Last just gets me every time. And
Yeah, I remember you told me that.
Love her, love her. And then, of course, Whitney Houston has to be mentioned. I mean,
Sure.
what a beauty and what a
Well, that's
talent.
true. I was going to mention her earlier. The reason why I
Yeah.
didn't, not to interrupt you, the reason why I didn't bring her up as a trailblazer is because I was kind of going more for either people that influenced me, and she did too, actually. She did influence me, but I wouldn't say she was a great musician. Well, she is a great musician. I shouldn't say it. Sorry. She was, but she didn't write her own songs. So she was just this amazing voice, this voice from the heavens. You know what I mean? Like she had this, to me, in her prime, Whitney Houston was the voice, because that's the kind of voice I like. And beautiful. And I remember when she first came on the scene, I thought, God, this chick has it all. She's just like beautiful, amazing voice.
Why I mention her is because, on the outside, we see people that have money and fame and beauty, and we think they have it all. And then her life ended up
that's true
tragically.
Too. Yeah.
So a lot of times, artists, I think it was Russell Brand talking about this. Anyway, I saw a podcast recently about somebody talking about how, talent, artists, and creativity, it often stems from pain,
of course,
and abuse and not pleasant situations. And that's unfortunate because even though it seems like they have everything, all the money in the world doesn't heal pain.
Well, that's true. That's true. Because I remember with the Whitney Houston situation, I remember thinking, now this is somebody who has it all. She's got this amazing career, beautiful, blah, blah, blah. And then you look at what happened to her because she was obviously self-medicating a lot, as they say. Yeah. And so obviously there was a lot of pain somewhere that we don't know about. Yeah. When I think about how sad it was with her daughter kind of following in the same footsteps, I just feel like, oh my God, that's horrible.
Yeah. And you just have to wonder if the fame is what caused the pain, because we've talked on, I really feel sorry for famous people. We put them on pedestals and, think they're so special and so different, and they're really just people, and they have feelings, and, they get built up and then they get torn down because, it gets views and people read it and watch criticisms of these people. And even, look at us, we're sitting here talking about people, and I hope we're, trying to be positive, but we learn from others' experiences too. So, I just think we need to realize that fame and fortune do not heal emotional pain. So.
Well, that's true. Because, no matter what happens to you in your life, if you acquire a lot of money or a lot of fame or both, it's not going to heal that little person inside of you that, when people aren't around and you got to listen to your.
Well, or when you get your heart broken, or when your dog dies, or when your parents die, or if you get some kind of illness,
That's
or,
true,
you are responsible for someone else's pain, and then you live with the guilt. And so, we're all, as all human beings, we're not immune to all of the weaknesses and failures of being a human. So I think Whitney was worth mentioning for that reason.
I'm glad you brought her up because because she was on my list, but
Yeah.
she got lost somehow.
Yeah, we've talked about her. And then an honorable mention, I just feel like we have to mention Madonna.
Oh, you know what?
Talk
I was
about a
thinking about her
trailblazer.
too.
You can't have a list of
Yeah,
women trailblazers without bringing
that's
up her.
true.
She was just so obvious that I
Well,
didn't
yeah,
put her in my
you're
top
right.
5.
I didn't put her in my top 5 because I don't know why, because again, she got lost in the mist. But I feel like she definitely was a trailblazer because she was kind of fearless in a lot of ways, the way she used her sexuality, but it was her manipulating, it
Mm-hmm.
and making
Mm-hmm.
money from it and trying to
Mm-hmm.
combine her talent. And, she's very unique. I would say
Yeah.
she's very
Yeah.
outspoken. She didn't care what people thought about
Yep.
her.
Yep.
And yeah, I like Madonna.
Yeah. 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 I just thought we got to mention her.
Yeah,
So
because she kind of opened the doors for like people like Britney Spears and people like that.
mhm. Yeah.
So definitely
Yeah.
good choice.
Yeah. So